Hi, I'm Jono, and if you're new here, I do pencil drawings. One of my favorite recent artworks is this artwork right here called Discomposure. It was one of those artworks that truly felt like it was a landmark for me personally. And so in this video, I want to talk a bit about why this work means so much to me. Also, a huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, but more about them later. I drew Discomposure in 2019. I was in my studio in Woodstock and I had been there for just over 3 years. Emotionally, I was going through quite a huge transition, and it all began a few months prior when I realized that I was really struggling to deal with my anxiety. I'd been dealing with my anxiety really well throughout my 20s with exercise and a bunch of different things to just help me manage it, and I was doing fine. But somewhere around July in 2019, I really felt I couldn't cope and I needed extra help. And I was fortunate enough to have a psychologist that I trusted, and with their help, we decided to go onto an SSRI, which is a type of medication to help treat anxiety and in some cases depression as well. That decision was a really big one for me. I think it's difficult for anyone to admit that they need help or to take something that's going to potentially change the way that they see things. But I'm so incredibly grateful that I did do that. And this isn't like any kind of advertisement for medicating your anxiety or anything like that. I think we each have to grapple with that ourselves and choose which path to go on. But once I made that decision, I think I started to deal with things that I never even had the capacity to deal with before. I started dealing with some really set-in issues that I had with myself. And I think that was the catalyst for why I drew this drawing. And so I'd like to try and tell the story and find the words to capture what this drawing meant to me. I don't remember the first moment that the idea for Discomposure took hold, but I do remember that the process was quite long. I think I spent almost a full month trying to plan this artwork, experimenting with different mediums and substances to try and get the texture of skin being pulled apart. The process was a lot of fun and really playful, which, if you've seen some of my other videos, is something I really try and encourage other artists to cultivate, a sense of play and incorporate that in their work. I think that's where creativity thrives. But for me, I felt like I was in that space and I was really enjoying it. I knew that I had an idea that would resonate very deeply with me, and I knew that I would get there, I just didn't know how. I had this inspiring sense of endless possibility and like I was moving towards the work that I wanted to create. Creating something quite visceral and almost difficult to look at, like the idea of flesh being pulled apart, for I think a lot of people can be quite a challenging thing to want to bring into the world. But I think that that's where, for me, the strength of this artwork lies, which is it represents exactly the space that I was in, and finding that there was this looking inwards that was very raw and very unapologetic and vulnerable in a sense as well. Breaking away from the work that I'd been creating at the time, Discomposure marked a departure and a development within my life. I'd been reading a lot about Jung and the idea of the shadow self, and I guess in my own life, I was allowing myself to explore another side of me as well. Shame is something that you come up against when you acknowledge parts of yourself that you maybe don't like. I think we're often confronted with the idea of who we are when we're growing up and who we become as adults. And I think reconciling those two people can be so disruptive and even painful. I found that there was this idea of shame that I'd been hanging on to, that choosing to be more authentically me wouldn't be accepted by the people that I loved. I needed to explore who I was and felt a sense of pulling away from myself that was so disruptive. I needed to find a way of depicting the emotional pull in a visceral way that would also acknowledge the intensity of the process. Making mistakes and coming to terms with those mistakes is something which I've always struggled with. My technique reflects how I try to maintain control over as much of my practice and personal life as possible, but while striving for perfection is motivating and can feel good, feeling bound by the standard can be more of a crutch or a defense mechanism than an authentic way of being. This piece considers the burden of shame and my own practice of composure. It asks, what's the value of dismantling that composure, shining a light on what you keep hidden, and being seen, flaws and all. Before I end this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they've played a huge role in my career, not only in sponsoring these videos and helping me maintain this channel, but more importantly, they created an easy way for me to show my work. It's so important for any artist or creative early on in their careers to have a platform to show their work and to make it easy for collectors or clients to get in touch with them. And for me, I felt that Squarespace did that effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them or set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use this offer code and get 10% off your first purchase. So that was some of the backstory behind Discomposure. It was a really important artwork for me personally, and it's a little bit scary for me to share a lot of the internal process and thinking behind my works. I prefer to rather leave people to come up with or to interpret the works themselves. But let me know in the comments if you enjoy that kind of diving into the thinking behind the artworks. Leave a like if you found it interesting. It helps the channel out in a huge way. As always, thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.